Welcome to Fasting Fact number 27. Today's topic is the number one reason that causes people to fail at diets and fasts. From my experience of having served 8 months on an online fasting forum and helping people, the number one reason that I found is refined carbohydrate addiction. Refined carbohydrates are pastries, donuts, even potato chips. Refined carbohydrates have only been around since the agricultural revolution about 4,000 years ago. And as a result, our bodies have not developed uh, a satiety system to keep us from overeating those foods. Uh, in counterpoint, for example, when you go to have a steak and broccoli dinner, if you notice that after a while you can't eat another bite of steak and you can't eat another bite of that broccoli because meat and vegetables have been around since we've been evolving as human beings. So our bodies have developed satiety systems specifically for protein and for natural carbohydrates, but has not for refined carbohydrates. Specifically, one food that needs to be pretty much eliminated from your diet is any refined carbohydrates that contain high fructose corn syrup. This sugar replacement was introduced into American foods only in the mid to late 1970s, so it hasn't been around very much, and it just seems to correspond with the rising rate of obesity in this country and throughout the world. Now, there are other causes to the rising obesity rate, but I feel that high fructose corn syrup is one of those primary causes. So, how did I address this when I began my fasting uh, lifestyle all the way back in August 8th of 2019? Well, I've always been of the belief that you want to get your body to work with you instead of against you. And when I was doing my research, I always looked what were the top three reasons why people failed at fasting. And this was number one, and it was reinforced by my experience in the online forum. So, what I did was I found a method called the potato diet. The reason that I love the potato diet is primary two reasons, actually several reasons, which I'll go into. Number one, you don't go hungry. You eat as much as you want when you want. And number two is that it's simple. Either you eat potato or you don't, versus certain diets and counting points and all that. No. It's been my experience the simpler a method is, the more likely it's sustainable and people can stick with it consistently. The reasons I chose the potato diet was because I had a refined carbohydrate addiction. I would get a bag of industrial sized potato chips from Costco and I would pretty much polish half to three quarters of the bag at one sitting. Also, I would have like a Haagen Dazs vanilla almond fudge bar, and then 3 hours later, I'd sneak off to the fridge late at night to eat two or three more. So that's pretty much symptoms of refined carbohydrate addiction. So I needed to break that, and also I wanted to change my taste palette. My taste palette is pretty horrible and pretty limited. I consider vegetables my kryptonite, and for my test, my determine if I was successful in achieving my goals was I call the avocado test. Even though I'm a native Californian, I'm kind of considered a heretic because I hated the taste of avocados. So if after my potato diet and I ate avocado and loved it, that to me was an indicator that I had successfully changed my taste palette. Now, the potato diet, you may be wondering, just consists of, for me, eating a boiled potato, no condiments, and drinking water. That's it for 14 days. And as I mentioned before, I could eat as much as I want and when I wanted. The reason it's effective is because uh, potatoes are pretty bland, so you start getting toning down those dopamine-fueled neural pathways that are lit up when you eat for pleasure by taking that away, and also that um, it also reestablishes the primacy of our body's natural satiety systems. Perfect example of that is when you go to a steak and broccoli dinner. Notice after a while you can't eat another bite of that steak and you can't eat another bite of that broccoli. That's because proteins and vegetables have been around as long as we've evolved as human beings, whereas refined carbohydrates have only been around since the agricultural revolution from 4,000 years ago. So Our bodies have not had a chance to develop satiety systems to deal with refined carbohydrates and especially high fructose corn syrup foods. So, by doing the potato diet, I reestablished the primacy of the satiety systems and short circuited those pleasure circuits in my brain. And I was successful. At the end of 14 days, I had a delicious Cobb salad with a lot of avocado, and I kept digging for that avocado. So for me, that's how I address the refined carbohydrate addiction, and I successfully addressed that before going into fasting. So that's the answer for this topic of the day. Again, thank you very much for watching my videos.